So you want to write a book, but can't get started. Well, stop what you're doing and listen to this.
Tune in to Go Book Yourself, powered by Helix Interactive, with your book coach and publishing expert, Hilary Jastram.
So many people come to me. I know I'm starting a lot of these episodes with so, but it is so true. So many people come to me and they say, I want to write a book. The first thing I'm going to tell you is that if you are feeling this, you've been captured. You've absolutely been captured. If you want to write a book, you've been captured. It's like you've been kept in a cage, and you're never going to be free. I'm sorry. You'll be free in 10 years. You'll be free in 5 years. You'll be free when you do it, no matter what that means to you. So if you want to write a book, you've been captured. That's what we're going to talk about today. How in the heck am I going to write a book? I'm busy. I've got kids. I've got a husband. I'd like to stay married. I've got a business. I've got a mom. I've got hobbies. I've got llamas. I'm overrun with pangolins. Whatever the case is, I want you to know that it's feasible. And that's what we're going to talk about today. How do I do it? I'm not going to tell you one way to do it, because this is a pet peeve of mine. There are so many coaches out there saying, do it my way. This is the only way to do it. If you don't do it my way, you're going to fail. And that is absolute baloney. That is just not even true. When I work with an author, I work with them. I work with their process. I make sure that I had one gal come back to me, actually a couple have come back to me and they've said, I'm using mind maps because this is how my brain works. So here's my main idea. And then these little sprockets or whatever, what are they called? Spokes, those spokes shooting out from the center. Those are like my sub ideas. Those are my supportive ideas. And I totally get it. Absolutely. So I'm not going to make you do the outline that Mrs. Olson, your third grade teacher, taught you how to do. Maybe it was more like sixth grade, but I'm not going to make you do that outline. I don't think that's fair to you. What I'm going to do is work with you. And the same holds true of how we manage our calendar. So many people are saying, well, if you don't manage your calendar this way, and if you don't make sure that everything in your calendar is a must do, you're going to fail. That is not true either. There are multiple ways to manage your calendar. And especially if you're not feeling well, I've got some other spoonies out there. Spoonies, look it up. That's all I'm going to say. Look it up. But I'm going to take a word from one of my authors who, when he shares something with me and I say, you know what does that mean? And shouldn't we tell the reader? He'll go, no, I want him to look it up. So I'm going to tell you that. Look it up. What does it mean to be a spoonie? Essentially, it's that you have a number of spoons per day, and each activity or task that you do costs you a spoon. So I want to dig into this today because I want to let you know that it is very, very feasible for you to write your book. A lot of people come to me when they're done writing their books. They tell me that was a lot easier than I thought it was. That is music to my ears. That's exactly what I want to hear. I want to meet you where you are. Any good editor will. They'll meet you where you are and they'll say, okay, listen, this is how you learn. This is how you retain your tactile. You learn via audio, right? You're a speaker versus a writer. There's all kinds of ways to create content, and there's all kinds of ways to dig in and find that time in your schedule. And I've gone on way too long without paying homage to our parent company, who we are right in the middle of rebranding, you guys. And pretty soon we are going to be able to unveil the new logo. I want to give a shout out to Kendra Beavis. She is amazing. She is the one who did our logo. I want to give a shout out to my dogs who are snoring nearby. I'm looking directly at them. I see you fellas. And you may hear them occasionally throughout the show. Some people will think that, wow, that girl is really hungry. Listen to her stomach. No, we have 2 labs. So you may hear them periodically. So back in the day when I went to broadcasting school, shut up, that is a thing. Okay. Just I don't want to hear it. There was something called plugola and payola. It means whatever vernacular you apply, that people will pay you to blast out their business on the radio. And that's your fact of the day, by the way. If anybody asks you, what did you learn today? Well, I learned about plugola and payola on Go Book Yourself. It was fabulosity. But thanks, Jay Hill. We have a little poem for you. Roses are red, violets are blue. You keep us on the air, so we love you. And if you would love to get your book done this year, simply reach out to us at J Hill, that's 2 L's, HILL, Mark, MARK, jhillmark.com, and head on over to the bookmark section. Bookmark used to be our editing house, now is going to be our publishing house. Because one day I woke up and said, hey, you have a publishing house that you've been calling an editing house, you silly, silly goosehead. And then rebranding happened a la Kendra, and she is amazing. And you will definitely want to use her. And I know I butchered her name, and that has nothing to do with her. That has everything to do with me and not being able to speak correctly. So it is Kendra, and she's incredible. And when we unveil everything, then I am more than happy to send you over to her, because from this point on, there's nobody else at Mocha that I would ever trust ever again. It's kind of like the trust that I have with Drew Linsalata, who puts out this podcast and produces it and handles my silly ass questions all the time and tells me what lighting to buy and how to set my mic up and all of these wonderful things. So let's kick the show in the ass, shall we? How in the world are you going to chip away at this massive undertaking, which is writing your book? I'll do a little Home Alone for you. You are, though. You are. That's the secret that Macaulay Culkin knows when he stands there. He knows he's going to defeat the furnace demon. And you, my friend, are going to defeat the fear that is holding you back from publishing your book, from writing your book, from editing multiple iterations of your book with fear looming and lurking behind you. You're going to be able to do that. It is massive. When you're a newly published author and you feel that pride that just overtakes you, when your blood and your sweat and your tears are left on the mat because you've grappled with this book, that is when you earn your stripes. That's how you cut your teeth. That's all the cliches that I can give you right now. But it's critically important that you keep going. So we'll talk about that in just a moment, but you've earned it when you're done. And man, I make you work for it. I'm like that coach that says, all right, here we go. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 20 more. Here we go. Could you not stand that Joni Greggins lady just all bandaged up in her spandex bouncing around, or Suzanne Summers with her, what was it, her Thigh Master? Shout out to my mom who had one of those. She bought it at a garage sale and she was like, this thing is great. She used it for her arms and whatever. But in any regard, yes, I'm going to push you. You should be pushed. You should be. Writing is an art and it should be elevated at every cost. You should toil over it. You should care about it. That's the one thing I can't do, is I can't make you care about it. That all comes down to you. You get to sit there and revel in your accomplishment because, honey, you're a new person when you're an author, and there's nothing like it. It's why I'm addicted. And it's also like the old analogy when you enter the Coliseum, 2 men enter, 1 man leave. This is ironically how my husband used to describe parenthood. I was like, no truer truth than that right there. Anyways, you've aged 84 years like Rose in the Titanic, but how did you get here? Well, it comes down to personality, like we've talked about. There is no one size fits all. So the first option we're going to talk about today in writing your book is that You might be a blazer or an attacker or a procrastinator. Procrastinator has a negative connotation behind it, but I think that is a situation or it's a personality type that people don't really understand. And the reason I say that is because rooted in procrastination is a burst of energy that pushes you toward the finish line. Or if you have to get something done at the very last minute, it likely might be because you maybe have memory issues and you want to be able to reference what you're talking about, um, and articulate it and make sure that the person that you're speaking to says, hey, you know what? You read that. Hey, you paid attention. Yes, yes, 100% and absolutely. Schedule a chunk of time or a getaway if you are a blazer, attacker, or a procrastinator. You need to be out of your world. You need to not have things facing you. So, all right, well, I'm going to write this chapter. I'm going to speak this chapter, but I've got a sink full of dishes that are staring me in the face, or I've got laundry that's all over the couch, or everybody's favorite laundry chair. I've got those things. And right now, writing has not become my priority. My kids are my priority. People are sick. I'm trying to figure out how to work from home. I have Zoom fatigue. I stayed up too late because of revenge bedtime. That's a thing. Look it up. I think I talked about it last time, but if you haven't heard what that is, look it up. It's kind of funny. You might benefit from feeling like you don't have a lot of pressure on you. A lot of us feel that way. Some of us don't. That's okay. Again, we're trying to find where we fit in here in our writing journey. You might need a space carved out. You might be, if you think about it, ideally, I want to go to a cabin somewhere. It's quiet. I can't even hear the snow falling. I don't know why there's snow in my fantasy. Maybe that's just inherently something wrong with me, but I can't hear it. Everything is peaceful. Nobody's pounding on the door. There's nothing that needs to be fixed or whatever. No kids, no spouse, partners, animals. You get what I'm saying. You might flip it too. You might need to go to the city. You might need to rent a hotel room. You might need to carve out that time and just say, this is my time right now. I'm going to do this. I will not be pulled away from it until I'm done. Great. If that's you, carve out your space and go to town. I've got an author who mainly writes when he is at the ocean or he is in a cabin, but in his mind, it's almost like he's put a label out there. This is what we're doing right now. So we're not going to go anywhere else or do anything else. This is my time to write. I'm not leaving until I'm done. And that helps him. And that's great. When he goes back in the city, I know that it's going to take a minute for him to get back to me. And that's totally fine. Because then I'm like, okay, well, he's back in the city. It's probably going to be another couple of weeks till he makes his escape again. And I don't judge that. In fact, I applaud it. I think that's great. Tap into whatever works for you. That's the whole key here. Whatever works. And this is a judgment-free zone, man. So don't bring that shit around here. Don't bring it around here. Don't come around here no more. I'm not going to sing for you. I sang earlier for the production people. I hope they enjoyed it. I know I did. Chip, chip, chipperoo. That's number 2. Every day. If this is you, and you're a person who feels like, well, I just got to chip away at it. I'll tell you what, I aspire to be that person. And when I am this person, I feel so great. I feel amazing. What you'll do is you will schedule a time that's non-negotiable. I know I touched on that earlier. Some people that works for, some people it doesn't. If this is you, treat it like a doctor appointment, treat it like an IRS audit, a root canal extraction. Oh, it's as fun as it sounds, right? But what you're going to do is you're going to say, this is non-negotiable. I am making this promise to me, and I am not reneging on this promise. Absolutely not. You're going to accomplish something. And man, you are going to be amazed when you see what you can accomplish in 20 minutes. Turn everything off is the other thing I'm going to tell you. Turn off Facebook, Instagram, Snap, TikTok, your email, put your phone down, put your dogs on mute, whatever you got to do. But you're setting aside that time and you're guarding it and you're saying, this is my time now. Nobody's going to disturb me. I'm in a safe place. I did that earlier today when I was setting up everything because I have new lights. So I was setting everything up. And it was like, well, nobody's going to disturb me. No dogs are going to come tearing out after the mailman. My husband is out right now. I did take a risk keeping the dogs out because they are, you guys, they're insane. They need to be medicated. They honestly, they're so crazy. But I treated this time and I said, this is your time. Right now, you are going to be using this time to do your podcast because you made this commitment to yourself. What happens when we don't make that commitment to, or we don't keep that commitment to ourselves? We don't feel good. We don't have a sense of pride. We don't want to talk about it. We'd rather just go, well, you know what? I didn't do a good job today, so I'm going to try again tomorrow, because it doesn't feel good to talk about it. So do everything in your power to feel good. That's critically important. Number 3, I'll talk about a super fun anxiety hack I have. We all love anxiety hacks, right? This one's not really down to planning. It's more like seeing in the day where you can make the time. Sometimes if I get overwhelmed, I'll look at my day and I'll say, okay, listen, you're actually spending your time doing this. You're not spending as much time as you think being productive. So you actually have more time than you think, because sometimes when we think we're productive, we're like, man, I've been so productive today. But then you look at, where did you actually spend your time? Well, I spent a lot of time on Facebook. I was doing something for LinkedIn. I'm not talking about if you're marketing for your business. I'm talking about if you're just flinging around, you're scrolling through things, and then, oh, where'd the time go, right? That's 3. And yes, I'm going to talk about revenge bedtime a little bit. Revenge bedtime means that you have felt so pushed and pulled throughout the course of the day that when everybody goes to sleep, spouse is sleeping, your kids are sleeping, the animals are quiet, they're in their beds, it's your time. And what happens is your time stretches. All of a sudden, it's your time at 2 a.m. It's your time at 3 a.m. It's your time at 4 a.m. Whoops, time to get up. So you want to manage your time, because if you got revenge bedtime, it's really hard to fit anything in, because you're going to be tired. You need a certain level of energy. So ensure that as you're going through the process of writing your book, that you've got your revenge bedtime in check. If you usually stay up till 2 a.m., maybe only stay up till midnight. And then you can wake up the next day and you can make sure that you can start again. The other thing that you can do with your revenge bedtime is you can use it as the time to write your book. What a thought. How crazy is that? But yes, you can use that as the time to write your book. When I feel anxious at night, sometimes what I've talked about before, what I've actually written about before, is that I will write down, okay, Hillary, what's making you anxious? So that's one way to handle anxieties. I need to just dig in and figure out, what do you need right now? What's going on? What can I give you? The other way is that you're going to write. Great. I'm anxious right now. I don't really know why. I'm not talking about really a full-fledged panic attack. I'm talking about, like, I've got revenge bedtime going on, and I don't know if I want to play more Brick Breaker. This is a new game that I just downloaded today. It's going to compete with my time. But in any regard, I'm going to need to, get a grip on that. So use your revenge bedtime to write. You can get up, give yourself a little cup of decaf coffee. Here's a little tip too. I ran out of creamer. I ran out of non-dairy creamer. So I used some non-dairy ice cream last night at like 12:30 and was super fantabulous. So you can treat this time as, instead of just doing something mindless and not really productive, and I'm not yelling at you and saying you're not productive enough and you need to try harder. I'm saying, if this is you and you're relating to it, then go for it. Go for it at the revenge bedtime. Sit down, write down your outline. You know that I'm a huge fan of that. Let's assume your outline is written Then you can move into talking about your chapters. You can actually move into some of the writing, or go downstairs or upstairs or wherever your bedroom is, right? I don't know. Maybe come in the house. Maybe it's outside. You might sleep in a tent. Are you in a yurt? That's fine. Wherever you are, get to a place where you can write or even speak, and use that time that you need to just kind of decompress to create your book. So you can lay out what kind of book you want to write, what choices are resonating. You might be stuck on a spot in your book too. You can work on those things. Make sure that this works for you. So again, I'm not saying any one of these things over the other, but a lot of people talk about, I don't have time to write. And I beg to differ, honey. I super beg to differ. You have the time to write. I think sometimes what we're lacking is the time management skills. And sometimes when we look at our time management skills and we say, well, shoot, you know what? I'm not doing that very well. Then we don't want to go back and revisit that. We don't want to say, well, I'm not doing that very well, so I'm going to spend a lot of time here and feel like crap about myself. But I'm not asking you to feel like crap about yourself. I'm asking you to honestly look at your day and see where you're most productive. And you very well may be most productive in the still of the night when everybody else is sleeping. You can squeeze that time in. You can also squeeze that time in early in the morning. This is the squeeze play that we're talking about, option number 3. Interesting. Here we go. And pad your day. I was looking at, I thought we were on option number 4, but I haven't talked about it yet. And I saw a blooper reel yesterday from a guy who couldn't keep track of the tasks that he was ticking off on his fingers as he was talking on his own podcast. And it made me laugh. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to own that, because I need notes when I go. I have a little script that I follow, and then I try and go offline and don't give you a bad PowerPoint presentation of death by PowerPoint. RIP. We don't want that, right? So number 4 is pad your day. You're going to squeeze it in, chip, chip, chipperoo, but you're going to pad your day. I pad my day. If I don't pad my day, I screw myself. It should be a little bumper sticker. And what I mean by that is, if I have an appointment, and I lately have had a very long Friday morning appointment, sometimes stretching 3.5 hours with one particular author. So if I'm padding that appointment, that means that I am allowing myself time to decompress, come down to earth, go grab something to eat, go pee, go grab a water, hydrate, just close my eyes for 7 minutes, whatever the case is. But I pad my day to make sure that I'm protecting my time. So similarly, you can pad your day. You can look at your calendar like we talked about earlier and make sure that you have time to write, but also make sure that you have time to rest. So often people think that if you're not like a super, like, I'm going to charge right ahead and I'm gunning for this. If that is not you, you need, and maybe you're more introverted, I think, or you're ambiverted. Say it with me. Ambiverted. Ambi or ambi, who knows? I think it's ambiverted. But if you're ambiverted, that means you're a combination of 2 things, which means you come alive and you re-energize around people, but then you also need time to yourself to recharge. So it is possible to exist and have those 2 particular personalities and be that ambiverted person. If you're more extroverted, maybe this doesn't apply as much, but if you're introverted, and if you're like me, you're a spoonie, you have a chronic illness or several chronic illnesses, you need to pad your time and protect that time and make sure that you have given yourself enough time to rest and enough time to recoup and enough time just to walk away from content. That is a part of it. It's not like we can just sit here for 20 hours a day and write, edit. We can't, we just can't do it. It's physically not possible. I mean, we can go through the motions, but we're going to have a much better end result, if we actually utilize some gaps in our time for creative thinking and just a fresh perspective. So when we come back to what we've written, we can look at it with new eyes and we can say, well, that's effective, or, oh boy, bleh, I didn't want to do that. Let's not do that anymore. So make sure that you're padding your day if that's something that you need to do. You're going to chop up your tasks. There are steps, there are pieces to the puzzle. So look at the process of writing a book. The way that I do it is I kind of chop it up by extraneous versus the main content versus the cover versus marketing. So we have about 4 different columns that we're looking at. And make no mistake, when you are starting to write that book of yours, what you need to do is consider that marketing. That is really important. We don't want to wait to market until the end and actually until the book comes out and it's published. And then we go, oh crap, we have a book that came out. I got to get the word out. How am I going to do this? What's my approach or my strategy going to be? We don't want to do that. So that is one thing you can work on. You can start working on your cover at that point. A lot of people find that they need a kick in the momentum. And I've heard that from authors where they've handed me the manuscript back. I'm going through it. I'm doing some developmental editing. It's taking a little bit of time. And they're like, well, what can I do now? Because if I don't do something now, I'm going to lose the enthusiasm for the book. So that's when we talk about doing things like, what are you going to do for your marketing? How's your social media going? Do you have somebody who's doing memes for you? Are you doing memes for the content of the book? You can talk to your cover designer or the cover designer that I assign you if that's how we're working together. You can work on the main content of the book. You can work on some of the extraneous pieces. Maybe you want to line up those headshots or whatever, but you can pick a task that makes sense to you, that continues to fill you with energy and momentum to keep going. There's all kinds of different ways to approach this, and that's the whole point. So before I leave you for the day, I just want to go through what we talked about so that it's just ping, 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 super easy to remember. The first one is if you're a blazer attacker or a procrastinator and you potentially need to carve out a time and go somewhere, be it a cabin, on the ocean, a hotel room, whatever the case is, if that is you, do it and be married to it. Second, chip, chip, chipperoo. Every day, chip away at this book. Find 20 minutes in your day. Go to bed 20 minutes later. Get up 20 minutes earlier. We have a rule in my house where we have dinner every night together, my husband and I. It is an unbreakable rule. So if somebody's like, listen, Jeff Bezos is on the phone and he really wants to talk to you, and the only time he can talk to you is at like 5 p.m., my answer would be, thank you, that is lovely, but I choose my husband and I'm not doing it. So, but at 6:30, all bets are off and we kind of do our own thing. He might go and play guitar. I might work on some work. I might work on my latest book or whatever the case is. But the point is, I find time in the day. Let me tell you what, you can find time in the day. You're talking to a former procrastinator, man. I mean, here's a story for you. Once upon a time, I was 16 years old and I worked at Rainbow Foods, which is a grocery store chain. And I did not want to work one day, but it was also payday. So I called in and I said, I'm sick. I can't work today. And they said, okay, that's fine. We'll put you down for 8 hours missed time. And I said, but I'm just well enough to come in and get my check though. So can I just do that? Because it's not going to take very long. And then I can go right back to going home and going to bed. And they said, well, I'll tell you what, you silly, silly goose. When they didn't really use that word for me, they might have used something else. If you come in and get your check and you're not going to work today, you're done. So bye. And the reason that I tell you that story is because you have to decide how much you want it. You really do. And the other reason is because I can't remember how I got off on this tangent. So number 2, chipperoo, 20 minutes in your day. You can find the time. Okay. Oh, that's what I meant. You can find the time. If I can find the time as a procrastinator and somebody who tried to pull the wool over Rainbow Food's eyes, you can find the time. Second is the fun anxiety hack that we talked about, rather, which is the revenge bedtime, and making sure that you're utilizing that time better, whether you're not using so much revenge bedtime and getting up earlier or later, or whether you're just full on going, hey, this is revenge bedtime. It's my time to write. Then similarly, pad your day. And we talked about this particularly as it pertains to spoonies. Make sure that you're protecting your time and giving yourself time to emerge with a fresh perspective. It's super important. And chop up your tasks as it pertains to your book. And that is a critical piece. Get that momentum rolling again. That's a lot of info, but the goal is not to make it overwhelming. You want to make it doable. I've helped a ton of authors with their books, and those who finish all have one thing in common. They did it. They absolutely did it. They moved into the work. They returned to it again and again, and they pushed themselves to get better and better and better. And you can do the exact same thing. And now it's time to go book yourself. Yes, you might even have a little time right now. So think about those options that I shared with you earlier. Use them to your advantage to make progress on your book. Until next time, authors, write on.